good night. No, that's the end of the video. Hi everyone who would like to watch my live reading, night 4 of 11. I skipped last night and moved it to 2 days from now because it's New Year's Eve, or it was New Year's Eve, so there was no reason to be reading a book then. People were partying. So tonight we are going to pick up with Against the Elements. I've put a summary in the description with a link, and starting tomorrow you can get the ebook free. So if you want to pick up where we left off, or where we leave off, that's where you can do it. And my character, the main character, is a police officer, hence this outfit for tonight's reading. All right, let's get started. Chapter 1, 7 months earlier. What are you going to do with all your free time once you're out of here? Rose Flanagan asked as she sat in Frank's car 6 hours into a stakeout in the downtown streets of Savannah, Georgia. Frank Heller glanced over at the detective he'd been training and gave her a wink. Well, he began, for one thing, I can finally ask you out on a proper date. Rose rolled her eyes. How long did it take for you to come up with that one? She teased. He looked over at her, offering an arrogant scoff. No time at all, since I've been thinking about it since the first moment you were assigned to me. He gave a quick look outside again before continuing. What would you say if I were to ask you out for dinner or a drink? I don't know if I know you well enough to give you an answer, she asked as she looked over at the older man. He was dressed in a flannel button-down paired with jeans, with his graying beard matching his hair, while she had auburn brunette hair that was too wavy to manage and glasses, making her everyday process a challenge. Rose was attracted to him for sure, but she was determined to keep their relationship professional, even after he was no longer her mentor. She hoped he felt the same, but she would know for sure once he answered her question to his inquiry. Frank gave her a small smirk. You don't think, after all the stakeouts we've been on together, that you don't know me well enough? He queried, keeping on his choice of topic for their conversation. Rose wasn't sure what to say, and she wished their suspect would walk into view so she could get out of answering. She liked Frank a lot. She had since the first day they'd met, but she didn't want to grow within the department because of who she knew or relationships with people. She took a deep breath and found an answer to what he'd asked. I have a deal for you. Can you get behind the idea of a deal based on our attraction to each other and no longer being coworkers? She watched for his answer. I have been wanting to ask you out ever since the captain first introduced us, he replied. So yes, I believe I can go along with your little game. What did you have in mind? He asked, posing yet another question to Rose. Luckily, this time she was in control. She gave him a timid smile before she continued with her offer. We obviously both find each other attractive. There's no doubt about that. She paused until he gave her a nod to keep going. If you're still interested in a relationship with me 6 months after you retire, then you can ask me out. And on that day, I will say yes. I guarantee it, she acquiesced. Frank glanced out the window once more before resuming eye contact with her. So your proposal starts from the official first day of my retirement, yeah? Yeah, she nodded. If I'm still into you after 6 months pass, he continued, you will definitely say yes when I come and ask you out on our proper first date. I'm talking about dinner and the whole thing. No more of this flirting we've been doing for the past year. He added his own stipulation to her offer. She nodded. Precisely. If you wait 6 months from your official date of retirement and then ask me out, I will go on a proper date with you, she agreed before changing the subject. Now that we've gotten us all squared away, can we do a little police work? He let out a laugh, the one she liked the best. I guess we can do a little police work today. That is, if the guy ever comes home from whatever he's doing, he picked as he looked back at the building the pair had been watching for hours. Present day. Detective Rose Flanagan sat in the precinct, basically alone, other than clerical workers, while all the other officers were out in the elements, helping with the evacuation. Retired Detective Frank Heller waltzed through the doors. His sudden appearance gave her a bit of a surprise, especially since she hadn't expected to see anyone until the rest of her squad returned to lock up and hold up for the storm. Hello there, Detective Flanagan, Frank said, announcing his presence. Did the rest of the Blue leave you here all alone to defend the precinct? He asked, once he neared her desk enough to lean over it towards her. Rose couldn't suppress her smile when she saw his face. Hey, old man, it's been a while since I've seen you, she stated. They left the clerical staff behind, but I'm the only officer left with a badge and a gun. The others are helping with evacuation, she added. Speaking of, shouldn't you have already left Savannah? She was unable to hide the concern in her voice. Frank offered a small wink. I couldn't have left the city without checking on my best girl, he responded. Plus, today just happens to be the six-month anniversary of my retirement, so hurricane or not, I'm here to ask you out on a date, he finished, revealing the true motives behind his appearance. You couldn't wait to ask this until the storm was over and you returned safely from your home? She retorted. He shrugged his shoulders. 6 months is 6 months. You never said it had to be a perfect day outside. Frank changed the subject to give her a chance to think over his proposal. Did the captain really think it was wise to leave one officer behind? Any criminal that's left might decide that this is the time to go after whatever might be locked up in Evans, he commented, causing her concern to grow. Thanks for giving me that to think about, she replied sarcastically. You should really get out of town. If I agree to our date, will you go somewhere safe? Frank shook his head. Nope, I'm not leaving until I know you're safe too, Flanagan. Where should we have our date once this storm blows over? Any ideas or favorite restaurants, he asked, hoping to take her mind off what he'd brought up before. Rose thought over his question before replying. I've been wanting to try out Alligator Soul. How does that sound for a first date restaurant? Happy to no longer be thinking of criminals for the moment, at least. I'll go anywhere as long as I'm with you, he answered. He'd grown cheesier since the last time she'd seen him, but she kind of liked it, if she was being honest with herself. That's the end of chapter 1. Like I said, then this book is free starting tomorrow, the ebook version. So if you'd like to continue where we left off on chapter 2 and see what happens when the hurricane really hits, do the criminals come? What else could they face? Go ahead and grab it starting tomorrow, and it's free until the 6th. And tune in tomorrow for our next reading. All right, good night, guys.